And the questions that you have asked me, obviously, because there's many questions, it's probably gonna take more than one video, so just bear with me. Okay, so your first question, I remember one of the times that I talked to you, you mentioned that Prince Philip was ready to die when he died. Yep, yeah, he was, uh, and that the royal family was upset with him for choosing to die. They weren't sad about him passing away. Yep, yeah, they were not. And that they felt very cold towards him. So I apologize in advance. Like I'm just reading out their questions just because I'm gonna post the link on another side as well. So those who haven't seen your questions, they might wonder what I'm responding to. And you also said, yeah, okay. So you said the royal family, they were cold towards him, Prince Philip. Yeah, absolutely. And you also said that Prince Philip had a lot of repentance or remorse for the things that he participated in. I don't know if I said like remorse, not remorse in that he shouldn't have, but in that from like going forward, he wouldn't. Yeah, going forward, he wouldn't, kind of thing. Yeah, which in a way it's repentance, but not remorse, if that makes sense. Not remorse for the things that have happened already. Um, can you please Okay, so he said the remorse for the things that he participated in, yet while he was a part of the royal family. Can you please give more detail about all of this? Why were the other members of the royal family upset with him for choosing to die? Was it every royal family member who was upset with him? What kinds of things did he participate in that he had a lot of repentance or remorse for? Um, so again, yeah, it wasn't remorse, it's repentance. So it's different in that one, which is repentance, is looking to the future, whilst the remorse part is like looking at the past, like I'm sorry to have done this. His is not so much remorse, it's more repentance, not being willing to do it again. So you asked why more detail about it. Why the other members were upset with him. Well, they were upset because they wanted him to stay longer and help them sort things out. Yeah, so I'll put it here. They wanted him to stay longer and help them sort things out. Because remember, this was when sort of Harry and Meghan were, doing a lot of things and with the public, right? And things are just sort of blowing up. And the family, they needed a distraction. They needed him to still be awake, Prince Philip, to still be awake, but like on the verge of death, right? Because, when someone isn't dead yet, people are not going to speak their minds completely. So that's what the royal family wanted to do. They didn't want the public to speak their minds about Harry, Meghan, the royal family in general, and getting rid of the royal family. They didn't want those kinds of conversations. So having Prince Philip in like the middle, like a lifeline, it was a lifeline to them, so that if the royal family could sense that the public was about to start getting angry, right? Then they would call on him. So they would call on him to make an appearance in hospital. And that would sort of make people feel guilty. So basically, like a guilt tripping weapon, Prince Philip was, or they wanted him to be. Yeah. Um, Yeah, so I hope that answers your question about why they were upset with him for choosing to die. Was it every Yeah, yeah, yeah. From what I've seen, definitely every royal family member, definitely, definitely. Yeah. Because they work as a team. They work as a team. Like they are one. They are one. They are one. Um, okay. What kinds of things did he participate in that he had a lot of repentance for? Using children, most especially. I mean, I remember when I started seeing about the royal family, or like the true colors of the royal family. Sorry, I'm just adjusting. When I started seeing about the true colors of the royal family, when I started doing tarot reading, one thing that really amazed me was how much royal family supporters were willing to defend the royals, even when there was a bit of proof or a bit of argument about them being involved in child trafficking. um so what I'm seeing is he what he participated in, child, obviously, using children, abuse of children, um minorities, when I say minorities, I mean like underaged, um just a lot of things that people have talked about in videos and in quote conspiracy theories, but they're not really conspiracies. Yeah. Okay, so the second question, I saw one time a video on YouTube of a lady in the street speaking to a crowd, in, I think it was London, and she was sharing her story about having been one of many kids. Okay, yeah, yeah. So, when she was younger. So I haven't read through all your questions, right? I'm literally, I've sort of taking screenshots, and I'm reading through them, and so I might even actually say things that will be repeated in your in your next questions. But yeah, definitely about the kids. So the woman was sharing about she was having been one of many kids when she was younger who were taken to either Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle to be tortured during black magic rituals. Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly what I've seen them do, Prince Philip. So yeah, that the royals would host. Yeah. She mentioned that Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip would be there as the head hosts at these rituals. Yep, absolutely. And she said that during these rituals, she also witnessed other children being murdered for ritual sacrifices. Is what all she said true? Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, energy wise, like the cards wouldn't even allow me to look into it. Like it's that obvious. Like what I'm getting from the cards, it's like it should be that obvious. And anyone, like basically anything that denies it is just looking at it, is trying to use the royal family's image as a lifeline as opposed to the actual truth. Yeah. Um okay. Do other royals in the family participate as well? For example, Charles, Camilla, Williams, Prince. Yeah, 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 yeah. They do. Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, Prince Edward, Countess Sophie Wessex. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do. Okay, third question. Do the royals work regularly with high level demons? Yes, they do. Um, in order to ensure that the monarchy continues to survive. Yes, yes, they do. And be well liked around the world. If so, what activities do they do? They definitely, again, so this card is really calling out to me. It's like a lifeline, right? The lifeline. So what it's really saying, the monarchy cannot continue to exist without this lifeline. And what I'm seeing, like, I don't know if you'll be able to see, right? So in this card here, it's a phone, but then in the middle, first of all, the phone is on the beach, sort of like on the beach, but it can also be underwater because the water levels are above. So it's basically like on land or in the sea, it's got contacts. So also therefore meaning whether people use the law or they use words, narratives, the mood, they can never win against the royal family because the royal family are on different levels, right? But as long as the royal family has this, like the contact, the lifeline, the lifeline, and also the phone being blue and bluish like the sea, it's like a life raft, like a lifeboat, right? A lifeboat. So meaning that whatever contacts. And okay, so it's blue like a lifeboat. It matches the blue on the phone, also matches with the blue in the background. And the blue in the background, it's like the wide sea, the big blue sea, right? And what I'm getting here, it's people, the people's voices. You know, when someone sings or when people talk, there are sayings like, her voice or his voice is like water, it's like the sea, it just flows, right? Kind of like that. So the water signifies people. So what I'm trying to say is that as long as the royal family has a link, communication with people, it will always stand, it will always be, it will always exist. So with regards to your question, um do the royals regularly work with high level demons? First of all, they are high level demons themselves. So again, in all my readings of the royal family, I've really come to discover like that the narrative, especially the Hollywood narrative of what demons, or let me say main culture, the narrative of main culture about demons or what demons should look like is not what it is. It's actually the opposite. They are, in quote, humans like you and I. They just pretend to be more human than demons, but they're actually more demonic than humans. So in saying that they're demons, it does not mean they can't be humans. Again, that's another thing. Basically, when you're looking into the royal family and their activities, break down every paradigm, every assumption that you had about demonic activity and behavior. It can be and is so much more than that, right? So what I've picked up, what I've sensed, they have links. When you see people on social media defending the royals, like their lives depend on it, then that's one of those demons I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if the person looks innocent as hell. It doesn't matter if the person looks like, it doesn't even matter if the person says, right? Oh, I'm not a fan of the royals, but such and such and such. Like, no, that's the narrative. Just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean that they're not fans of the royals. Because again, like this card shows, the links that the royals have, it's very much, it can be on the like, it's very much deceptive again, because so the phone is on sand, like basically on land, one could say. So meaning, so in the physical realm, like on social media, for example, these people would seem rational, they would seem stable, they would seem like their feet are on the ground, and therefore they are normal, they are sincere, even like they stand, right? They're not floating, they're not uncertain, they're not deceptive, right? But they're also underneath the sea. They can also be underneath the sea. So really meaning like whatever words they say, don't just look at the words really, but pay attention more to the environment. In other words, like the aura around them. The more you know, the more you look at the aura, and looking into people's aura is not difficult. Like basically what it means is not just paying attention to their words, but also pay attention to what you're picking up as they speak. So even as I'm speaking right now, you might be picking things up about what I'm saying. So you might be seeing certain images in your mind's eye as I'm speaking. That's aura as well. That's part of aura. You might be seeing something about me, literally, that I haven't said. I'm not speaking about myself, but you're picking up things about me. That also is aura, right? And what you're picking up about me might give a clue as to how or where I stand with the royals in a way that I'm not being honest or out or forthright about, right? So that's what I want you to pay attention to. Um so about these people. So what I'm seeing is they definitely are on the side of the royal family, and I mean, because they are demons, so their level of deception is so high that they don't even like, if you're just looking at them at face value, these demons, you would not be able to tell that they're demons because they masquerade as humans. Yeah, but they are demons. A demon is not necessarily going to come out and say, I'm a demon. They just won't. But they will be humans, or they'll look like humans. And I do see a lot. So again, the two tone environment, the land and also sea. The royal family works a lot with demons who are both demon and human. Yeah, which is possible. It's very possible. I mean, I keep repeating that because I, before, having watched television or just in life in general, I didn't really think that there could be such a thing as a half human, half demon, right? I just thought, oh, if a human being is doing bad things or evil, they're gonna repent, or they don't really mean it, right? They're just doing it maybe because life has turned them evil, but not necessarily. All those are just paradigms that it's very much intentional, the kind of paradigms that get put out, whether it's by Hollywood, and obviously Hollywood is in leagues with the royal family type of environment, right? The elites. So they very much put out the narrative as if one can either just be human or demonic. That's not the case. One can be both. And I do see that for a lot of the royal family fans, basically. But yeah, they wouldn't identify as demons. But with regards to your question, those are the demons that the royals work with. And so what I was saying earlier on, right, the big blue sea, it looks innocent enough. Like it really, really does. I mean, but in the big blue sea, there can be sharks, right? And sharks can draw blood. So what I'm trying to say is these demons that they work with, the high level demons, they are high level. One of the reasons they are high level is precisely because they do work that goes unnoticed, right? Like they look like they are just fans. They look like they're just fans. They look like they're just innocent bystanders, just paying attention and being fascinated, in quote, with the royals, whereas they're not. They are deep, sea deep involved in the royals. They're just pretending. It's a mirage. It looks all blue and peaceful. But if someone decides to come and like pick up the phone, right, to see, in other words, check out what the royal family is really up to, or the person decides to sort of like cut off the cord, the line of communication, you might just see a shark starting to come out of the water to come at you. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So um and yeah, I mean, sorry to sort of go off on this, but even as I'm speaking, lots of things just keep coming up to me. But it's like when I started doing readings on the royals, and I was a fan of the royals before until I started seeing so much more in the activities. And like I said earlier on, one of the things was the treatment of children, right? And the rituals and stuff, and the child trafficking and all of that I actually started seeing and picking up. And back then, I remember it was one of the things that really opened, that just I was so shocked about the support, the way people supported without even, I mean, even as I'm speaking, whenever I do readings and stuff, I'm always like, you don't have to believe everything I say. You don't have to even believe it 100%, right? But at least allow your mind to be suspended in thought. Literally, just think, could it be? It could be. It could also not be. As long as you're thinking like that, you'd come to the truth eventually. But when it's just like, no, 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 which is what a lot of royal family fans were doing. Like, I honestly thought before, I mean, let's say they would, okay, it's okay that you would stand up for Kate Middleton. It's okay that you would stand up for, whoever, right? The kids, the Cambridge kids and whoever. But I'm not even attacking them. I'm literally talking about other children that have been sacrificed. Like you don't even have a limit. You haven't drawn a limit when it comes to your support of the royals. Like you're willing to say, because I remember back then, several of them were sort of kept repeating to me in a really vicious manner, how dare you criticize the queen? She's irreproachable. I mean, when you say something like that, she's irreproachable, what do you know that I don't know? Right? Like you don't look like you're part of the royal family, number one. And number two, even if you are a part of the royal, like even if you're Prince Philip, who's married to the queen, you never really know what a person is up to in the privacy. Even if you're married to a person for 30 years, you never really know them as intimately as you think, because I mean, even the person themselves, they might do things when you're not looking, right? When they're in the bathroom and you're not there, when you've traveled and you're not there. So even if you're married to the person, talk less of if you're not even married to the person, or you're not even in the royal family household, right? You seem so far removed. Again, like you're just the sea. You seem so far removed from this phone, from the royals. But then you're insisting and telling me that the queen is irreproachable, that the queen has led, decades of service, impeccable service, and irreproachable. Like, basically, what I'm trying to say is that, unbeknownst to me, those were the high level demons that you're asking about. Because now that I'm looking in hindsight, I'm really seeing that they were telling me things that it was just going over my head. They were basically swearing their allegiance. They were telling me who they were, in essence, without really telling me. that they're part of this C that coordinates with the blue phone, like the royal family, like the blue and golden phone, right? And so basically telling me that no matter what, even when it comes to supporting the royals against accusations that I can't even prove, accusations of child molestation or whatever else, trafficking, I will stand with them. I will stand by them, right? So that's like a mark of the high level demons. Like that's demon. That those are demons, demonic behavior. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that helps to answer your question about what activities they do, because it- the activities is any and everything. Literally, just think of the sea and how widespread a sea can be. Yeah, the in every corner. They're just like the sea. They'll masquerade as fans. Yeah, they masquerade as fans. Anything or like anybody that you see defending the royal family, the royals, without any proof that the royals are as good as they're claiming, and especially being unwilling to even give the benefit of the doubt to people who come and say, I was trafficked, right? And the royals were involved. Then those are those high level demons that I'm talking about. So, yeah, yeah. That's how they ensure that the monarchy continues to survive and be well liked, because they pretend not to be the phone. They pretend not to even be a part of the phone or coordinated in coloring with the phone. They pretend that they're black. They pretend they're black. In other words, they'll always be saying, not all of them, but they use a lot of words to gaslight, like, I'm not even a fan of the royals, or yeah, I support the royals, but I'm not even being biased. This person just wants money. They're just accusing the royals of child trafficking because they want money. So they muddy the waters. They muddy the waters. They always keep the waters behind the royals. They always keep the waters behind the royals as clear blue as possible. Yeah. Because what muddies the waters is accusations, right? Things that look dirty. So, yeah, in a nutshell. Yeah, so activities they do, they're everywhere on social media, in uh different industries, workplaces, and things like those. Yeah, basically it's people who stop a person, who prevent a person from thinking critically about the royals. And when I say critically, I don't mean, oh, Prince Andrew is a pervert. That's not critical. Critical is saying, why would the royal family be talking about eradicating poverty and inequality when it's keeping lots of jewelries that they don't need? I mean, in terms of fairness, okay, let's give every single member of the royal family a house. Right. I mean, which is more than fair enough already, right? Because there are many people who don't have houses. They're born into poverty, or they're born with not so wealthy families, right? So, but just for the sake of being kind, and being understanding, let's give each of them a house paid off, right? But then once the house, you pay off the houses, and then you tell them to go to work, just like normal people go to work, and all the goods that you have, which it is recorded they've gotten from different kind of shady methods, let that wealth be redistributed all around the country that you claim you love. That's the kind of critical that I'm talking about. Yeah. But then there'll always be excuses and excuses and excuses, and gaslighters. These are the gaslighters, the demons. That's the work they do. They're always there, each step of the way, each facet of life, industry, the internet, of the internet, offline, wherever you go, whatever country. Yeah. uh to stop and prevent people from thinking critically, including people who may never even have met the royals, do not even identify again as family defenders or royal family supporters. In fact, it could even be people who do criticize them. But again, like I just said, pay attention to the type of criticism it is. If it's just surface level criticism, right? Like about Prince Andrew, Well, what is controversial about that, right? Everybody's criticizing Prince Andrew, but what about this? Like something like Kate Middleton, you know, and stuff that she does that are not so good. Like a person wouldn't, not saying like they would have to criticize her consistently, but at least be willing to look into her with a much more critical eye, right? But they wouldn't. They would really just skip around and pretend and pretend and pretend. And some even pretend that they hate the royals, but they actually don't. When it comes down to it, you'll see them jump out. And in fact, by even claiming that they don't like the royals and then criticizing them continuously, that is setting up a mirage, an image for when a really important issue that, in other words, like when the royals will see that that issue in the spiritual, they'll see that that issue could be what really brings down the royal family in a significant way. They're going to send their foot soldiers, right? And then all of a sudden you see people who had seemingly hated the royals, all of a sudden they're supporting them on this one area, like this one issue that you would really have thought, wait a minute, of all things, of all people, I would really think that now is the issue or the time that you would really go hard on the royals, right? But no, that's the moment you're going to see these people turn and sort of try to play devil's advocate. Well, that is because they are of the devil or like demonic. So, and it was just a ruse. Yeah. Okay, so fourth question. What was the marriage relationship like for Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip over the 70-year marriage? I think I'll leave this a little bit. Okay. So what was the relationship like? Like a game, first of all. So like a tennis match, like a game, except it was only the queen playing. Yeah. So that's the queen here. And she doesn't have an opponent. Yeah. But the green, well, she doesn't, as much as it seems like she doesn't have an, or didn't have an opponent, the green represents Prince Philip, right? So it's like he's everywhere. His aura is around. Yeah, supporting her, like under her feet, like the grass. Yeah. So that kind of mood, that kind of energy all throughout their marriage. And then this one right here, um, what I'm picking up, like he would have liked to be in a relationship much more than a marriage. So he did love her, actually adored her. But what I'm sensing, it's like I'd rather have this without the union. So like this line, without the union, like the ring, I would rather have this paradise over this hard, cold, hard truth at the top, which is, well, in the physical realm, right? The cold, hard reality of who you really are when you're sitting on the throne. Yeah, on your throne. So I hope that answers your question. Like, it's really reading at the energies anyway, but I hope you can just, in reading that energy, that it was like a game, but she was the only one playing, and then he's supporting her. I hope that just answers your question basically for the whole of their marriage, because it's the same theme. He never broke that theme. He never broke the theme. Yeah. Um, I know it has been reported that Prince Philip cheated a lot on the Queen. He didn't cheat. Starting from not too long after they were married. No, no, he didn't cheat. He didn't cheat. Okay, you asked, is it true that Queen Elizabeth II had a nervous breakdown when she first learned about? No, 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 no. She didn't. He didn't cheat. She didn't either. But they both obviously had sex with other people. Again, like I've said in previous readings, they don't consider it cheating, not if they like the person going out with someone else. Like they like watching, Yeah, they like watching. That's their sexual kinks. That's their sexual preferences. Yeah. I mean, just like S&M, just like whatever other preferences that people have, they don't con they don't like calling it cheating. Not if they can help it. The only times that they will use the word cheating and stuff, right, for their situations is for another purpose, maybe to gain some points in the eyes of the public or something like that. But aside from, or from moralists or Puritans, but aside from that, they don't, there's no cheating. They condone it, they encourage it, they participate in it. Yeah. Is it true that Prince Philip had a long time younger mistress that he was devoted to since the 1970s? Yeah, yeah, yeah. If so, was she the love of his life? No, I do see the queen being the love of his life. I do. I do. Yeah, I do. So this card here, it's like whoever he was married to, whoever he was married to the public, whoever he was married to, is the one who he could be himself the most with, like transparent, right? He could be himself with. And that was the queen because they were married. So but yeah, I do see the mistress, but again, I mean, she also had her bit on the side. Yeah. Okay, how is she feeling about his death? She's quite okay. Again, I'm getting this sense of like the coldness, the coldness. She's quite okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, just all about the money. All about the money. Yeah. Did Queen Elizabeth II ever have her own extramarital affairs? Yeah, yeah, yeah. If so, did she ever fall in love with any of the people? Yes and no. Like she fell in love with the way they treated her. Yeah. So you can see this card here. The green, right? It's sort of like the same theme, similar theme with Prince Philip's energy, the green around her. So it's pretty much like as long as they are like him, Prince Philip, who worships her, then she will fall like the water. She'll fall for them. She'll fall into the treatment, the good, the nice treatment, the deserving treatment, deserving as a queen, the deserving treatment that they give her. Yeah. But without this environment, then no, it wouldn't. Obviously, she wouldn't fall for them. Yeah. Was the death of Princess Diana a ritual murder? Um, that was planned and orchestrated. Yeah, yeah, I think I said it before already. By Queen Elizabeth, not just Queen Elizabeth, but I mean others as well. I mean, like MI. I don't know if MI6 exists, but yeah, I'm definitely picking that up. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. The British intelligence agencies, or intelligence agencies in general. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like even though, so this card here, even though it seemed like it was just an accident, right? In other words, like abstract from the ground, abstract from what was happening on the ground, which is the divorce and, Diana's behavior and all of that. It wasn't abstract because the one here on the ground was sacrificing, offering up a sacrifice or sacrifices to this abstract being, seemingly abstract, right? So yeah, sort of saying take care of her for us. Yeah. So yeah. uh Number 9, what were the machinations of how Princess Diana's death was planned and executed? Again, nothing to do with the physical. I mean, with the royal family, nothing that they do has not been planned in the spiritual, first of all, in the spiritual realm. So this card really sums it all up. It sums it all up. There was nothing that was mechanical about it. It was all orchestrated underneath the surface. Again, even here, you can see sort of like the bird. So this one can say it's like kind of represents her, but also represents an abstract being, right? So it can be like a god or a goddess that one sacrifices to. They're up here in the sky, in the light, and then this is the person here at the bottom. So this will be the royals. And they are more like where the sea the sea is. In other words, much more spiritual, on the spiritual side, like hidden, almost hidden. If someone was far away, they would be they would see this bird firstly before they would see this person down here, right? So what I'm really trying to say is, with regards to your question, how what were the machinations of how her death was planned? What I'm trying to say, it could have been even through stabbing. And then what would come out in the news is that it was a case of mistaken identity. Maybe she was walking down the street alone and somebody came behind, grabbed her bag, and stabbed her because she put up a fight. She tried to put up something like that. In other words, the car accident was not like, they didn't start from planning a car accident. It was more like offering to the gods, and then the gods put things in place, and that is how it manifested in the guise of a car accident. Could have been something else. Could have been her choking on her food. Yeah. But if she had choked on her food and died, then it would be even more suspicious because it wouldn't be in public. So you can see this card. So it wouldn't be in public, and so therefore the public would suspect them even more, because obviously the public would speculate that she had been poisoned, right? So what the Royals really counted on and wanted to do was to make it as public as possible, a death. Because, so you can see here, the person is literally standing on, like, on a rock. They're saying, look at me. I'm in broad daylight. It's darkness, but I'm in the open. I'm not hiding anything. But in a way they are, because they know that there is something here that is covering them. Something that is preventing those on the other side from seeing this person here, right? And this something I'm picking up here is the royal crown, royalty, that prevents people from seeing the royals at the bottom, offering up the sacrifice for this being here and for this being here. Because what I'm sensing is, if people say like Diana did it to herself, in a way she did, because I'm really getting an energy of this is both, signifies both the gods and the goddesses that the royal sacrificed to for Diana's sake, but it also represents Diana. Like, she got swept up. You see this bird here, it's like literally in the middle of the spotlight, right? Instead of just going into darkness, or just, I don't know, maybe getting a bit lower, so that whoever is on the other side that is paying attention to this bird would draw closer to see what the bird is going down to. In other words, if Diana had stuck to the royals as much as possible, then she wouldn't have died, because it would mean that then the royals would know that no matter what they do, she's close enough for the public to connect her death to them. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. So it's more like her being swept away with just, she wasn't grounded. She didn't remain grounded. So it was easy for her to be swept up and carried with this spirit, this energy, this god, right? Or goddess that enabled the royals' plans to come into fruition. Um, Okay, next question. I heard one time that Princess Diana was purposefully killed in the tunnel that she died in, because the tunnel was over a catacomb associated with the, okay, because the tunnel was over a catacomb associated with the goddess of hunting, or huntress, which I think is the meaning of the name Diana. Is it true that there was purposeful spiritual symbolism associated with her place of murder or death? Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, like that card showed, it was all spiritual. So symbolism was definitely involved. Yeah. Yeah. Is it true that the paramedics who arrived on the scene after her car accident purposefully drove the ambulance extremely slow to take her body? The whole thing was as orchestrated as possible, but like on a spiritual level. So, in other words, like, even if the paramedics were not bought and paid with the physical money, in the spiritual, they were certainly swept up by the, like again, that card. When something is sacrificed to a god or a goddess, right? Obviously, depending on the sacrifice, but let's say to take a person's life, everything around that person is going to orchestrate itself, even if the people who are involved in the events are not aware of it. It would feel like a dream. Yeah. So this is why, for example, maybe one of the person driving the ambulance wasn't feeling good that day, right? It would be because of this energy. Like the energy just sits on the person or the people involved. They feel heavy. They feel the sense of urgency, but they don't know why the body cannot move as quickly as that urgent feeling. So it feels almost like water. Like when you're wading in water and the water is too heavy and you're trying to push through the water, but the waters are so heavy. It's exactly like that. Yeah, because of the sacrifices. So with regards to the paramedics, driving purposefully slow, not exactly, but at the same time, it was inevitable that they would drive in that manner that would not be able to save her. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Did the French doctors who were claimed to have worked very hard to revive her really do that, or was that a part of the cover-up story of her death? Um, did the French doctors who were claimed to have worked very hard to revive her, they did and didn't. Like, there were several things that they could have done or should have done, like giving her blood without waiting to see if it was fatal or not, kind of thing. Like, really inconsequential, in quote, little things that add up. Yeah. So, kind of like going into treatment mode as opposed to keeping her as wrapped up as possible so that she wouldn't get worse. So it's like they kept her in that state to prevent her getting worse rather than going straight into thinking of the worst and then doing the necessary. So it's much more through inaction. Yeah. Um, why was Princess Diana considered such a threat to the royal family? She wasn't. She wasn't. I mean, I don't know if I've said before that she was, but again, and if whatever I say here contradicts what you've read from my readings before, it's completely fine. Feel free to ask me what I meant because I'll always be willing to explain. But she wasn't. If they ever saw her as a threat, it would have been temporary. Temporary. In other words, and also, it doesn't mean that they would not be willing to take her life if just because it's temporary. It's like it's so insignificant. Let's just do away with it because now she's bringing in more trouble than she's giving us benefits. So okay, be gone. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a threat to the royal family. It was a threat to the future of Prince Charles, which there's a difference. You know, the future of Prince Charles is like they still saw Diana as part of the royal family. The difference in that means because they didn't see her so much as a threat for the royal family, but a threat for the future of Prince Charles, it means there was still real love and affection towards her from them. So when they say in the papers or whatever that they loved her, they did. It's not a lie. But obviously, they had to break the clock. They had to break her time in the royal family. They had to break it. They had to break it. Um, otherwise she would have flipped the tables and Charles would have been the one seen as a broken clock, as opposed to her own life being seen as a broken clock. I hope that makes sense. So rather than her tarnishing the crown of Charles, which is ultimately the crown, of course, but the crown of Charles, they prefer to tarnish her own life because to them, it's not as consequential as the crown that Charles is going to wear. I specifically mentioned Charles because obviously, even though the crown that belongs to Charles actually belongs to the whole royal family. The threat was still not about the royal family in general, just because Charles was the link between Diana and the royals. Yeah. And so like this card shows, they were both at war, fighting each other, throwing weapons at each other. Um the royals had to pick a side, and they chose the side of Charles because obviously it's like, okay, the broken clock can only look pretty on one person, not both of you. So we're gonna use it to, yes, make uh Diana a martyr, but at the same time, yes, she is going to be broken. And with that, we're gonna like maintain your image, the image of Charles, right? In the background, the sort of blue, unbothered, energy, unruffled energy. Yeah. So he was the link to her. He was the link to this whole battle. And rather than take him out, they prefer to take her out. But yeah, with regards to your question, why was she considered a threat? Again, because of the fighting, because of the fighting. Yeah. I mean, you can see here, like, the clock would be round and beautiful if not for these two fighting. Yeah. And destroying bits of it. And again, because everything, again, spiritual. This card, obviously, there's water in the background. And going back to what I said in the beginning about the supporters of the royals, or like the high level demons they work with, right? That are used to blindside other members of the public. Um, it's the waters. They're represented by the waters. So therefore, I mean, look, if these two people are fighting, and then the clock is getting broken from the fighting, the the debris, the fallout, right? Like, I mean, the hands of the clock. If it falls apart, the oh god, the ruins, the debris of the clock would be noticed by the waters, by the sea, by the people. So it's like the longer it went on, the longer it goes on, the more crumbs, the more debris are gonna fall, and people are gonna take notice of like, because debris, if it falls into the water, it makes the water dirty. The water will no longer be blue only or bluish. Now the water is going to have brown, it would have black, it would have gold, all these different things that is going to bring attention to the royal family. And the royals didn't want that because they are the gold. They don't want the gold to start dropping in the water into the sea, because then the public is going to pay attention. And gold synonymous to money, wealth. People are going to pay attention to the money. So touching on your question again, Diana was one of those, like, event eventually she wouldn't have kept quiet about the amounts of money that the royals have, right? So people would have woken up to, oh, look at this gold. So you mean you've been lying to us? You do have gold. You're not just modest. I mean, it's like people do know that the royals are wealthy, but I guess part of the campaign of the high level demons is to prevent people from real people from sensing that, wait, the money is a lot more than we've been told it is. Yeah. And that's what the royals were afraid Diana would reveal. I mean, she did already anyway, but they were afraid that she would be proven right as time went on. Um, how did the royal family feel about the public suspicion that they were behind Princess Diana's death? They didn't mind. They didn't mind. They didn't care. Yeah. They didn't mind. They didn't care because money, because money. Yeah. They used money to combat a lot of, but then again, the money is just in the physical realm. They use money in the physical realm, but that money was backed by the weapon, that is the royals, the weapon, the threats of royalty. And in the spiritual realm, those threats are very much real. I mean, I've talked about it before. Like, sometimes when I do readings, I would sense, or I would be getting the threats or threatful energies being directed at me from the supports of the royals. Yeah. Telling me to shut up, telling me not to say such and such, or telling me not to make it as serious as it is. They might come under the comments and like, oh, it's not that serious. I think you're reading too much into it and blah blah blah. Yeah. So yeah, no, they didn't really feel anything. Yeah. They just knew they could use the spiritual realm to counteract it. Okay. Next question. Some people in the British media have said that Princess Diana was not completely the person that everyone thought that she was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in that regard, Piers Morgan, I think he's one of the most prominent people that I saw was actually telling the truth with regards to Diana's state of mind. Um, yes, not perfect at all. Um, Okay, so reading your question, they said that yes, she was kind and compassionate, but that she was also emotionally unstable, manipulative, controlling, prone to being hysterical emotionally, unstable, calculating, and could read people very well. Yeah, that's one thing that she really, really could do. She could be like William, a bit like William, or even like Catherine. She reads people so well, like water energy, water spirit. But Kate is much more, in terms of ranking, Kate is much more of a water spirit than William is, than William and Diana. William is much more of a water spirit than Diana, but not much more than Kate. Then when it comes to Diana, she's got maybe like 1% or 1/6, right, of water spirit, water energy. But then the rest she made up for in using water or water energy uh to do her witchcraft or like her spiritual work. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Not as like someone like Catherine would not need to, like, say, go into a room, use a bowl of water to read into people, but Diana would need to. She would need to. Yeah. Yeah. In other words, it wasn't so people's feelings, the mood of people wasn't so accessible to Diana as it would be to Catherine. So touching on your question, whether she could read people very well, absolutely. But it was because of her effort, through effort, which means it was very intentional. Yeah. Which therefore means it was quite manipulative. Manipulation doesn't mean it's negative, but it just means it was manipulative because the image that even she herself projected to the public was certainly not someone who goes into reading people that well, right? Yeah. Yes, yes, you said and act accordingly to project is exactly she acted accordingly, yeah. To project a certain image in order to get her way. Are those things true about Princess Diana? Absolutely it is. It is, it is. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna stop here and continue the next reading.